Welcome to another long interview here on Coffee Time with Peter Gomez. And featuring in today's long interview is the Honorable Alhaji Ousainou Darboe, Secretary General and leader of the United Democratic Party. We look forward to an engaging conversation. Alhaji Ousainou, thank you very much for welcoming us to your home for this conversation. You have just returned from a tour of the country. Tell us about your experience first.
Well, thank you, Mr. Gomez, for hosting me again to Coffee Time. As you said, we just returned from a tour on Thursday. It was the most exciting tour. In fact, we have named it the Defection Tour.
The Defection Tour?
The Defection Tour.
Okay. I'll ask about that later on. Just continue about the experience.
And it was purposely to really go back to our people, touch base with them, see how effective our structures are working. Of course, in the run-up to the 2026 presidential elections, you have to be quite prepared on the ground. So we just went out to see how far or how much we are prepared, and where there are lapses, what to do to remedy them in such situations. And of course, to again remind the Gambian people that the position we had adopted or we believed in since 1996, they are still relevant, and that we must do better this time so that we can rescue the Gambia, we can redeem the Gambia, put the Gambia on the right path.
So how prepared did you find, some of the structures were, and where did you find lapses, if any?
Well, certainly there were lapses, particularly in URR, and that is because their moral was dampened. Not that they had lost faith in their party, but that their moral had been dampened, and that their activities were not as frequent as you have in other parts of the country, in NBR, in LRR, and in parts of CRR South, and also in part of CRR North, because CRR South, district like the Nyaminas, and in CRR North, district like the Salums and Nyanija, the activities of UDP's activities were not very frequent as we expected it to be. So we realized that, and I think the tour has energized those people, boost up their morals, and in fact, they are also working hard. And in fact, CRR North, in areas of CRR North, there are a lot of defections, even in the salons.
And that's why you're calling it
a defection tour.
Defection tour. And in URR in particular, where we know the president is from, and probably because of that, the NPP and its coalition partners are very strong. Is that what has weakened? Is it a question of, the ruling parties weakening the UDP in those areas? Well,
it is because the ruling party really weakening people in the area. I mean, there has been this idea of we have come from the same region, so support the president. President Jammeh came from West Coast region, and the people of West Coast region supported him 100%. Why shouldn't you support Barrow, who comes from the River region? So those sentiments which I really do not think should be considerations. And of course also there was this issue of we have built the roads, we have built bridges, we have built bridges for you. Now the roads in the CRR in URR North, I think those were projects, because even since at that time you used to hear Lamenkoto to Pasamas. These were projects that were conceived well before we went into politics. And their actualization really started in Jammeh's time. This is the truth. And this is what people want to be told. But then President Barrow takes it as his own, pretends as they conceptualized it, conceived it, and then executed it. I don't think there is anything wrong for President Barrow to say, look, these roads were conceived, yes, maybe funds were provided, but I pushed it, to finish. I could take credit for part of it, but you cannot take credit for all of it. And on the bridges and the roads, on the Basse-Fatoto Road, also played on the minds of the people. And I have, I tried as much as possible to be modest. I don't want to blow my own trumpet. I don't want to praise myself. But this time, I did tell the people of URR that, look, true, I had the opportunity of traveling to China at the invitation of my colleague, Foreign Minister Wang Yi. He invited me to China, which I'm very grateful to him. And indeed, on my visit, I went with a shopping list. And indeed told President Barrow that this is the shopping list that I'm going with, to ask the Chinese authorities to help us. Maybe the Chinese authorities can even take Gambia as a model for their developmental ideas. How much they have fought poverty, how they have converted small fishing villages to now in huge industrial commercial sites. How that will be. Maybe you can benefit from that. And road was one of the items on my shopping list. And I did mention to two specific areas of the country, Kiang, that was virtually inaccessible because there were no roads. And I felt also sorry for Nyanija, because I discovered that during the campaign period that I went into the area with my friend Ahmad Ba, I discovered that Nyanija, you could only have access into the hinterland of Nyanija on Wednesdays. That is the Lumo days. So if you are lucky, on a Wednesday, you have a vehicle that can take you into Nyanija unless you own your own vehicle. Otherwise, it is every Wednesday that you go in and every Wednesday that you come out. And I was particularly struck by that. How can people in the Gambia live in such situation? I'm specifically mentioned those two places. And of course, we are, with God's blessing and the magnanimity of the Chinese authorities, actually to give us this project. And it was taken to URR. Fine. It's for Gambia. Yeah. And in fact, the Chinese authorities say specifically that it has to be in this region or that region. And it was for the choice of the Gambian government. And I did tell people that, look, really, President Barrow is just claiming that, but I worked it out. I brought it in. And
but Chinese investment was only in the infrastructure in Basse, not necessarily in Kiang.
Not necessarily in Kiang. So I said, look, and I asked them, since I left, which minister has gone to bring such a project that is to the Gambian people? So these were the things that were weighed on the minds of the people of URR. Yes, we have this road, we have these bridges, especially for Woolly, you can come at 5 a.m. Woolly and Sand, you can come at 5 a.m. and cross. In those days, if the ferry closes, it's bad. In fact, in those days, when we go for campaigns, they would feign a breakdown in the ferry services so that we cannot cross with our vehicles. But now that doesn't happen. So that weighed on them, and they really gave their support to President Barrow. But what is now unacceptable to them is what? A bridge that has been given to the Gambian people gratis. Why should we pay for it? Why should we pay toll? Why should there be toll charges on it? If it was a loan, you want to recover, of course, the loan, then you can ask, you can put toll charges on them. And this is really worrying the people of URR and the people who use the bridge, and they tell you, look, why are they not paying for Denton Bridge? Why are people not paying for Kalaji?
Those are valid questions.
Yes.
But again, the point, could be made that we need to maintain the bridge.
Absolutely.
And we can't always go to donors to say, give us money because the bridge is too old.
Absolutely. We need to maintain the bridge. We need to maintain the bridges. There has to be funds for the maintenance of the bridge. Then the question is the licenses that you pay for, the road tax and all those things.
So the cost of maintenance should come from that. The money that we give to GRA.
That's right. Should they really not be banked, to take care of the maintenance cost that may arise if you have to do one. Yeah.
So if you say, because Yahya Jammeh came from Kanilai, the West Coast region voted for Yahya Jammeh, Barrow is now from Basse, and the URR is voting Barrow. Is it fair to assume that coming from the LRR, that the LRR is predominantly also Darboe and the UDP?
No, I don't come from LRR.
You come from?
I come from CRR.
From CRR, okay.
Banza is in CRR. And of course, I'm not dominant. I do not have dominance in CRR. Yeah. And
so what do you think about this politics of regionalism, if you like?
It is bad.
Just because Peter Gomez comes from Banjul, he says, well, everybody in Banjul should vote for Peter Gomez.
It is not right. It is not right. You have to...
How do we overcome it? Because it seems to be etched deep into our politics.
Well, we overcome it by the political actors, the politicians, not carrying that type of message to the electorates. Then ask people to vote for you because you come from the same region. Honestly, in 2018, our first visit to the United Nations, at our Friday prayers in one of the mosques at the end, I was shocked.
By what?
With a statement by a friend, a colleague, a brother, when he told the congregation, and this was a congregation made of Sarahulis, and when told him that we should support, he is one of us. I was shocked by that. I don't think you should support anyone because he's one of you. I have had my own close relatives who have been supporting Jammeh, and I do not hold it against them because I believe that is, they believe in Jammeh's policies. I do not believe in my policies. And it didn't in any way interfere in our personal relationships, in our family relationships. It never caused any fractures in our family relationships. And I think it should be that way. People should be, people's decisions should be determined and controlled by the genuine, not false, by the genuine programs that politicians bring to you, not sentimental things. Yeah? Of course, people will have personal liking for you. Of course, when anybody has any personal liking for Barrow, why should anybody have anything against him for that? I admire him for this or admire him for that. I think that is okay. But it should not. That should not be the matters that should really lead to really the election or selection of a government.
Of course, Barrow started life in the UDP. as a member of the party. And very often you hear that this tribalist tendency in our politics was actually started and driven by the UDP. And there's a phrase that they throw up all the time, Badia Fasa. I mean, how do you explain this allegation against the UDP?
Well, see, this started in Jammeh's time. And that is, they do not have anything to say or contradict our UDP's programs. So, I mean, this very, detestable campaign, that's what they embarked on. And indeed, even Jammeh started it before the APRC was formed. It was during the transition period. And banging on tribalism in this country. And that means no tribalism in this country. No tribalism. I do not know, I'm not aware of any agenda that is driven by Jawara, that is driven by tribal concentrations. Jawara was in fact the biggest unifier in West Africa. And UDP, yeah, we was formed with all tribes in it. Wolofs, Ibumane, Amatal, Ajam Sak, and all those people. Tairu John, Tairu John. You know, Okuta Thomas, Christian Davis, all those people. But then, because they saw, how much UDP was going with this accelerated political ascendancy, they said, look, poison people's mind and say, look, this is a tribalistic party. I am Mandinka. And all other political parties in this country are led by people who belong to other ethnic groups. But why do they want to describe us as Mandinka? Remember, NCP was also tagged as a tribal party. So this calculated propaganda which have absolutely no validity. I asked them, tell me the tribal agenda that UDP is driving. Tell me. We say this should stop. And we would say it should stop if a Mandinka was president.
So Badia Fasa is not a UDP utterance?
It's not a UDP utterance. It's their own utterance. On the contrary, if anything, what we have seen very glaring, people trying to thrive on tribalism, we see it more pronounced in Barrow's time. President Jammeh never called tribes. They would call communities, CRR. The Fulas, the Mwalofs, the Sarahule, all they will come. But he never singled out any single tribe.
What about the famous statement read on television targeting Mandinkas?
Of course. Again, that for me, it had two intentions. There are two intentions. One is to spur the Mandinka ethnic groups into violence. Two was really to make other tribes treat the Mandinkas with contempt and believe that Mandinkas are bad people. And then, of course, doing that, if you achieve that, you're really making the country disunited, polarized. I know that Jammeh did that. Jammeh did that, and we condemned it. In fact, I think all political parties in the country condemned it. And I know that there are political party leaders then, who stood there and said, UDP is not a tribal party. UDP does not believe in tribalism. The personal life of Mr. Darboe shows that he does not believe in tribalism. He has children whose uncles are Woloffs. He has children whose uncles are Jolas. So he cannot really say that he's tribalistic. But maybe some of those political leaders have now turned in this in this time to really try to put a tribal tag on us, but they will fail. And I think people have begun to see the falsity in that narrative.
So how do you interpret the president's reported private conversation during his tour with Mandinka communities, where he lamented the fact that Mandinkas in that particular area have tended to always vote opposition? Some people have interpreted the remark as tribalist. Others have said it's just a conversation, you know, a family conversation, a conversation within members of a family, where the way we talk in the family is different from the way we speak publicly.
Well, see, I think the people who really want to give us that slant, you know, not ready to really defend the indefensible. It is most unacceptable for the president in any conversation to really make statements that tend to denigrate another ethnic group in the country. It should never have happened. It just shows his thinking. For him, if you do not vote for him, you are Mandinka. Look, in 2016,
Yes.
he had all his votes from that area. And that was because he was UDP. Or at least people said, like, look, here's an independent candidate, but then, you know, with a UDP spirit. So they always considered him as UDP. So they voted him because he was UDP. In Jammeh's time, those areas voted because they are always UDP. Now, if you belong to UDP and you now abandon UDP, they decide to vote in the way UDP votes. It's not because they are Mandinkas. And I think it is a most unfortunate statement coming from the head of state. And the thing is that, you know, having that closed-door meeting with the president with these local people, people who really, even the presence of a regional administrator overawes them. So the president was, using the Grand Office to really intimidate those people. That is what he was doing. Intimidate them, accusing them of being tribalistic. Using the Grand Office was most unfortunate statement. I have always said that the president should be inspiring. Even when he cracks jokes, he should be inspiring. You shouldn't allow your aides to be coming and to try to explain, well, this is what he meant, this is what he meant. He really said what he meant. Start to look like that you people are Mandinkas, you don't want to vote for me. You don't want to. Yeah? But in 2016, he never said that about them. And I have never, and I will never say that those people who voted for me in areas that are predominantly other ethnic groups, I wouldn't say that they voted because they are not Mandinkas. I say because they probably do not appreciate and understand the programs I'm presenting to them. So I have a lot to do to convince them to accept my programs.
Did you meet these people as part of your tour?
These people.
Where he made these, how did you counter the narrative?
Oh yes. In LRR, yes. No, in LRR, no, I really try as much as to avoid, because we do not want this kind of discourse to dominate.
You don't want to stoke emotions.
We don't want this kind of discourse, this kind of discourse to dominate our political activities. You know, it's not right, because you will not be setting a good precedent. You know? Yeah, you're not setting a good precedent. I mean,
you must have said something, you know, to assure them, to reassure them?
No, I have said, look, you vote for UDP, because UDP is not a party that is based on tribe. UDP is for every tribe, irrespective of your region. Yeah, certainly. And I said that they must ignore those type of things. And I said that, look, you must not go to the government, to the Mandinka community, and try to make statements that appear to be really disrespectful, and that he should be respectful not only to Mandinka but to every community. Not only to the Mandinka but to every community, particularly elders. I said the Mandinka community, the Mandinka elders and elders of other ethnic groups. You must be respectful to them.
You said moments ago that President Barrow abandoned the UDP. Was he not kicked out of the UDP?
He wasn't kicked out. He wasn't kicked out. He abandoned UDP.
Why did he abandon UDP? I mean, this is, after all, the party that made him.
Absolutely.
And, it was on the strength of this party that he became president.
Absolutely.
So why would he want to walk out of the party?
Absolutely. And I think, the honest answer should be from him. We can only conjecture from events. Mm-hmm. He did say in Sukta that Fabaka Tombonjata and Sidinjai, in his...
the Speaker and Deputy Speaker.
That they would support him, but only if he parts company with Ousainou Darboe. And he said when he was told that, he was shocked, and really they put him in a state of confusion. How could he do that? But in the end, he did it. So it was not free. And he was also told that, look, if you do not assume leadership of the UDP, then that is a coup d'etat. I mean, some of his aides who spent some time in America, they do not understand American politics, but then they want to bring the status of American politics here. Say that, when you are president, you are leader of your party, that nobody should contest against you. Forgetting that Jimmy Carter, if they knew Jimmy Carter, so really, I think the Democrats within the Democratic Party, there were other contenders against Jimmy Carter, in fact, two other presidents. That the leadership of the party in the United States does not necessarily mean that you cannot have any contestants against you. But that's what they told him. And then he said that, look, anybody want to run against him, that is a coup d'etat.
Oh.
Now he did say, this is on record, that is a coup d'etat. But he was misled.
So he wanted to be handed the leadership of the UDP on a silver platter?
And he could have got it.
He could have?
He could have got it.
How?
If he did things in the right way. He could have got it.
What would have been the right way to go about this?
The right way to go about it, would have been really to stoop down and say, I belong to this party. Because I have always been saying that we need to give space to the younger people in the party. If he had approached us and not tried to use his office, then he would have got it. And let me tell you, when I was appointed vice president, the first cabinet meeting, I was shocked. I won't name the particular minister. The minister said, well, Mr. Darboe, now that you have been appointed Attorney General, Vice President, I think now you should make a public declaration that you endorse President Barrow for next presidential elections. And I was sitting right across with Lamideba facing me. He just stared at me. And Amadou Sani looked over the shoulders of Ahmad Ba, gazing at me.
Was it Ahmad Ba that made that statement?
No, I wouldn't mention the minister. No, but I'll tell you. Ahmad Ba made a statement, but I'll tell you. Yeah? Then a colleague who was sitting by me just got up and pressing me on my thigh. Please don't say anything. Please don't say anything.
They feared you might have exploded.
No, of course. But what I would have said, Ahmad Ba said it.
What did he say?
He said, look, this is not the place to discuss these type of issues. You discuss government matters here, not party matters. And I think that's right. So even for me, even if my appointment as vice president was not really out of genuine intentions, it was a way of trying to placate me to see, that it could say, like, look, be there. And really, you cannot really give me positions because you want leadership of the United Democratic Party. And in any case, leadership of the United Democratic Party is not is not a position that I own. The leader of the United Democratic Party is always elected at the Congress, and the presidential candidate is also elected by the people. Of course, my support for him would have been very crucial, and I would definitely have supported him. And we got people. I didn't talk to him personally. I got people to say, look, you're after a five-year term. Maybe you should go to university. Read economics. Read some of the developments that will really, get you on very good grounding, so that even your advisors, if they come and advise on certain matters, you'll be able to really challenge them by putting questions to them. So that you are not only approving. And then the university course will take you 3-4 years. Then the next elections, which have been in 2026, you would come in, just as Navedi and Putin did. Well, to be honest, I've got 30% of the electorate behind me, so the 70% will just fight for the 70%.
And it has worked out for him.
Well, it has worked out for him, and it has worked out for him very good, and I appreciate that. But it has also worked out for me that I maintain my stand, my principle, that you do not induce me to taking decisions that I do not think are in the best interest of my party. Yes, but people have to stand or fall by principles. If you do not have principles, you will be carried away, and I cannot compromise that.
And until this fallout over leadership of the UDP, a lot of people thought you were de facto leader of this country. That Adama Barrow was elected in 2016, yes, but Ousainou Darboe, after he came out of prison, pardoned by Adama Barrow, literally ran this country. You could do anything and everything you wanted with government, and some say you did.
That's absolutely false. And I say it here again. Except at cabinet, where I participate in discussions and make my views known, I have never had any discussions with Barrow. I've never put anything to Barrow that is fundamental in the running of this country. It never happened. In fact, as foreign minister, I was most of the time out of the country. I was most of the time out of the country. Of course, trying to launder Gambia, because our gentleman who was in charge, had really created a very, very bad impression of the Gambia. Has dirtied us. So we have to launder the Gambia. And I hope I did what I wanted to do. Or maybe I didn't do all, but I hope I did a little bit of what I wanted to do. Of course, as vice president, if you see the constitutional arrangement, vice president is very much ceremonial. It's very much ceremonial.
Why did you take the job then? When it was given you could have said, well, I'm more effective as a foreign minister than, being taken to a position where I wouldn't be much effective.
Well, if I've never thought of that, but then pointed that, the president, he chooses, in what capacity he wants you to serve in his cabinet. So I couldn't make. It's not in me, or it's not for me to make a choice to say that, well, you have me foreign minister. That's what I want to get me to a more effective ministry. Probably in Jawara's time, vice president had some executive functions, because I think the vice presidents used to carry some other ministers. Like I think Honorable B. Darboe was vice president as well as Minister of Education. Yes. Yeah? And I think Hassan Musa Kamara was also carried another portfolio. Yeah? So, really, for me, the vice presidency, should really have some executive role. You have some satellite institutions, population, Office of the Population Control, NANA, and all those.
National Disaster Management.
National Disaster Management. Yeah, you have those satellite institutions, under the vice presidency. But then the sort of executive powers that one would think the vice president would have, that for me it was non-existent, and I didn't go out to grab it. There were occasions when the president was away, I left for him to take decisions. In this country,
you would contact him wherever he was in the world.
In fact, I'll contact him. If I'll contact him on an issue, I would contact. I'll tell an issue on which I contacted him. You see, the way I was reading the happenings on the political scene and utterances on the political scene, I advised myself that you should be very careful. Otherwise, the allegations that you are power hungry, you want to do this, you want to do that, it's going to stick. So I made sure that I didn't do anything that would appear to be a presidential. That this to take it, that the president would take. I made sure that I didn't do that. Because I knew the forces that we are working against me. I knew the destructive forces between us. And any such move, they will say, well, you see, we told you. You see this man, you see what he's doing? He's just too ambitious. He just wants to be president. That's why he's doing this.
Those allegations were made irrespective of you doing your best, apparently, to make sure that they were never made. Because after you left, that was the allegation, that you were undermining his presidency.
That's right. And fortunately for me, nobody has come out to say this is what he has done to undermine the president. I know that he was told that I had a group of people whom I'm propping up, whom I want to rely on, and single out Sheriff Gomez as being part of the group. I'm happy that Sheriff Gomez, whom they thought was very much anti-UDP, anti-Barrow, I'm happy today he is doing good services with the security sector reform. I'm really happy about that. But then, he was one of the people pointed at to say, well, you see how much he's doing to undermine you, has this man there. And I did tell the president that, of course, they should also have told you that this gentleman with the supersonic, that he was also there. He was a classmate, Barrow's classmate, a good friend of Barrow. I said that they should also have told you that he was there. But I said, look, we want to utilize every talent in this country. And this is where we can go forward. We should really forget, these differences of that politics, we can't, the active politicians, yes, but those people who were really doing service in other sectors, you cannot really sideline them when they have something to offer. You have to rein in all the talents and make the best use of them. That's what you have to, what you have to do. And this issue of me running the government, you see, the only, and I think that was even accidental, the only issue which I think is important that the president told me that it was a decision he had already taken, but he was informed me, was the removal of the Secretary General, Mr. Darboe.
Oh, Habib.
I think it was on a Friday. I went to his office and on the matter of dealing, I think, with the sector reform, and I left. After I left, then he sent the orderly to come and ask me to go back. I went back and said, well, VP, the Secretary General, I think I should tell you that the Secretary General, I'm relieving him of his position. You know, he says his letter is to be delivered to him by the, I don't know, I think the Chief of Protocol. So I said, but President, Your Excellency, tomorrow you're supposed to be traveling to China with the FOCAC, the head of your technical team, head of the civil service. If you remove him today and you go to China on the FOCAC, how do you expect that to function effectively? Who is going to lead
the technical discussions?
Who is going to lead the technical discussions? I think if you want to remove him, please, you can do so. But then, wait until you come back from China, and then you can do that. So I was not consulted before the decision was taken, but when the decision was taken, informed, and this is what I told him. And then he called him Mr. Sise, the chief of protocol, Alaji, and so told Alaji, well, this is a public, and Alaji is hearing me, you know, the president is also, if he's honest, you know, and said, chief of protocol, this is what vice president thinks, and I said, yes, I think he's right.
So Habib survived that day.
Well, yes, until they return from China. So just to say that I have never been consulted on any major decision.
Did he know going with you to China that his head was on the chopping block?
Well, I don't know whether he knew, but Gambia being what it is, maybe he knew, or he must have suspected. Maybe he knew, he must have suspected. You know. Apart from that, when I was in the foreign ministry, you know, I would things that I would tell him that we should do this. He says, well, I will consult with my technical advisors. And then one of us said, Your Excellency, your principal advisors in this government are your ministers. I said, in Minister of Agriculture, OJ is your principal advisor. You cannot rely on anybody. It's OJ that you have to rely on. And in all other ministries, your ministers are your principal advisors. Of course, the technical team that was talking are the people who are really, dragging me away from UDP. Yeah, and of course they succeeded in dragging me away from UDP. But just to say that it is false. I have never been consulted on any major decision taken by Barrow once I was in government. The only decisions that I took part in were decisions that were taken at cabinet level.
Do you think you would have been most effective as Attorney General and Minister of Justice? Because the rumor one heard after you were pushed out of government was that you were first offered, that Barrow initially wanted you to be his Attorney General and Minister of Justice because of your legal background, but you chose to become Foreign Minister. And the reason, again, based on allegations, is that you wanted to go out and connect with the diaspora and strengthen the UDP.
That is, again, is false. Again, that is false. Yeah. Barrow, the offer he made, his vice president,
That was the initial offer?
Yes, that was the initial offer, Vice President.
You could have been his vice
yes,
president instead
yes,
of
yes.
Fatmata
Yes,
Tambadou?
yes, Vice President, that was the offer he made. And I said, Your Excellency, thank you, but I am not qualified. And his face dropped. Honestly, his face dropped.
What made you think you were not qualified?
Because the qualifications for presidency is the same as Vice President.
On what? On what?
It's 65,
Academic?
no, 65 age.
On the basis of age?
On the basis of age. I said I'm not qualified. Because what disqualifies me as a presidential candidate is what disqualifies me as a vice president. Honestly, his face dropped. And he said, I really wanted you to be there so that you would be going to the meetings. He said, in fact, he said, no, I don't like traveling. He said, I don't like traveling. So you'll be doing this. Where I should be, you go to represent me there. I said, but unfortunately, I cannot. And then he had told me, that he had, in fact, when we were having discussions, but Tambadou was somewhere, and he said that Ba was helping a lot around, so he decided to make him Attorney General. I said, that's very good.
You did not choose Ba?
No.
Ba was the president's idea?
In fact, to be quite honest, Peter, I did suggest some names to the president for ministerial appointment, but none of them were appointed. The current Minister for Civil Service Affairs was one of the persons.
Mr. Babukar Mbaibo?
Yes, because I looked at his track record. I was in opposition, but we look at this from that distance. We see these people, we see their performance, we see their attitude to work. And I said I thought he would be a wonderful minister, for higher education. And I thought that, look, Adelaide Sose would be a good minister for basic, for low and basic education.
Basic and secondary.
Basic and secondary education. I think these are two good people who would be there. And of course, our Alkali Conte. I said I think he would be a good minister for tourism. And Ibrahim Asila, I thought he would be a good press officer for the office of the president.
Not Minister of Information?
Not Minister of Information, And the suggestions, all the suggestions I made to him for appointments, none of them were. So it's false. When they say these things, it is false. It's all try to make me look bad and try to make Barrow a saint. And then I'm the demon. That he was doing everything. And didn't I hear one of them say, no, you're going to do that, so you're going to suffer. But then, I realized that, really, in politics, demonizing your opponent, is probably thought to be one of the best things to do for your survival. Giving credit, to your opponent is thought to be really self-destructive, and I don't think it should be. You can still give credit to your opponent for anything that is done. If there's any qualifier, you can qualify it, but you cannot continue demonizing, unless, of course, if your opponent continues to do things that really warrant him being demonized all the time.
The NPP, as you say, would be listening to this keenly.
Yeah.
And hearing you say that demonizing your opposition, for the sake of politics, is not right. They would say, well, that's exactly what the UDP does. The UDP never has, a good word to say about the NPP. How would you respond to that?
Well,
they would say, well, look at all the road infrastructure that we have brought in.
We have said, look here, roads are important.
But do you give them credit for that? Do you say, well, the NPP, they have done well, President Barrow has done well?
No, we have said yes, roads have been constructed. Yes, this is good for development, but the fundamental things that you have to address first is the living conditions of the people. You want to address the health system adequately. You want to address the education sector, adequately. You want to address the agricultural sector adequately. The human capital, that's actually, look, build that. And then these others will follow. And of course, the Gambian people should now realize that building roads and so forth is not what the population should really be wanting all the time. So if roads are so important, if bridges are so important, Abdoulaye Wade would never have lost the elections in Senegal. What he did from Dakar to Touba, Macky Sall, the Funjunju, bridge, and other infrastructural development, the stadia, all these are what infrastructure that we see. No, but they are not what really provides for the Senegalese people. And also saying that, no, yes, these roads are good, but they are not what the Gambian people want. They are crying. If you look through some of the video footages in my tour, a young girl crying, said that they're hungry. A college student coming to say, look, we can't go to our classes regularly because the cost of transportation is prohibitive. $30 is not sufficient. A young woman tells me that I've left school for more than 2 years. I cannot pick up a job. This, you hear them in videos. These are really the basic things that you have to address, and then come onto the roads. Nobody would say that roads should not be constructed. They should be. It's a question of whether prioritizing.
You mentioned the cost of living. What will the UDP government do about the cost of living? I mean, how would you tackle it? And how is the party using it to its advantage in the build-up to 2026?
Well, you see, because the cost of living, we don't talk much about it. It's the ordinary people themselves who talk about it.
Yeah, but shouldn't you be talking about
it?
Well,
we should.
Because if you come into government and the cost of living has not been solved.
What I'm saying is that we are not using it as a campaign tool. The people themselves have realized it. And what we tell them is, what do we do now to make sure that you have a government that addresses this issue of the cost of living? Look, Peter, yeah. I think really if you direct our resources into agriculture, into food production, and I tell people that when you say food production, it's just not rice. Corn, maize, coos, findi. All these should be part of our food security agenda. Rice, yes, is the staple food. But now, with this age of, diabetes, you have to have other types of food alternative that really assures you that at least you're reasonably assures you that you will not suffer from diabetes. Yeah? So we need to really invest in agriculture. Now, when I left Janjambure to go to Bansang, I looked on the right-hand side, this huge expanse of rice field. Nothing is happening there. I spent the night in Kuntauru. Huge expanse of rice. Nothing is happening there. I thought that we should really focus more on food production. Let us divert, or let us apply a huge portion of our resources into agriculture, so that we can be food self-sufficient. And I said, look, we should have a program, targeted production, so that every year you target a certain quantity of tonnage of rice, and you gradually, of course, measure it up to your imports, how much you import every year, so that in 5 years, maybe if you do so, in 5 years, you would have graduated to the level that you import every year. And then you could advance so that you can export. Yeah? Nigeria, they eat a lot of rice. You know? And they also need, they're also not self-sufficient in rice. So you can import.
So we could export
you can export to them. This is what you should do. And I did congratulate the government for really the help that is given to JA. And I think this should be encouraged.
Have you been to see his farm?
No, I have not. I have not been because, if I go there, they would not see that. They would think that these politicians.
You think he wouldn't let you, into his farms just because he doesn't want to be associated with the opposition?
I'm not sure that will be. But
should business people take sides? Let me ask you that question. Should business people take sides?
Well,
people say, well, as a businessman, you have to hedge your bets. You have to be seen to support every party.
Well, it is. I think it is only in Gambia that I see business people refusing to take part. I mean, in Nigeria, business people take part.
Yeah.
I mean, other places, business people take part.
In America, Elon Musk.
Yes, business people take part. You don't take part.
They take sides. I mean,
you support.
Yeah. You
support the program, even the program that you support. If that party deviating from the program, you abandon them. Because I've sided you because I believe in this program.
But would you like to visit Jazz Farm?
Of course, I would like to visit it. Yeah, but I have personally decided not to because I do not want anyone to try to say, oh, this man is UDP. Because if I go to visit his farm, they would extend to me all the courtesies.
Well, you've been to my radio and nobody is saying I am UDP.
Well,
hopefully.
That is what you think.
That's what I think.
That's what you think. That is what you think.
We're talking to Alhaji Ousainou Darboe. We asked our listeners to send in questions, and I have three ones that I want to read to you. Ibrahim Akoli in Spain wants to know what your position on ECOMIG, the ECOWAS military intervention force in the Gambia, is. He also wants to know what you think about the dominance of the CFA over the Gambian Dalasi. And last but not least, he wants you to know that he's never voted UDP, but in 2026, he swears he will vote UDP.
Oh.
Ibrahim Akoli in Spain.
Well, Ibrahim, thank you very much for really guaranteeing me a vote in 2026. I thank you very much at that. You see, my view about the dominance of the Dalasi, the CFA against the Dalasi, is because of the weak state of our economy, the weak state of our currency. I hear minister say that because the CFA is backed up to the euro, and that is why, and our Dalasi is not competing favorably against the CFA. I agree that CFA is pegged to the euro. But you see, Peter, there was a time when CFA was pegged to the French franc, not euro, but to the French franc.
Yes.
And the Dalasi was doing very, very well.
Yes. Yes.
It is because of the lack of fiscal discipline, because of the wastages that we are getting in. That is why our currency is losing value every day against not only CFA but all other major currencies. And it is sad. It is one of the factors that contributes, to this high cost of living in the country. Because if a businessman brings in consignment of rice, and at the time of the purchase of the rice of the consignment, the ratio of the dollar to Dalasi is 50. Now, at the time of payment, it now goes to 52. I mean, what do you expect?
Yeah, you will look for an extra $2.
That's right.
For every
that's right. So, I mean, we have to do what really it takes to really save the Dalasi. And we cannot really be putting blame on the strength of other currencies, and ignoring our own way of handling the affairs in the country. It's our handling affairs of the country has contributed to this. Probably, I believe in 1994, the dollar would have been a convertible currency if the coup hadn't taken place.
Ah.
Absolutely. If the coup had not taken place, the dollar would have been convertible currency. Yeah? In fact, I know that before 1994, you can go with dollars to Nigeria and change it to naira. Oh yes, to naira. So I think the honorable minister really and the central bank, I think they must do more. These very high-floating statements, it's not what is really going to provide the panacea.
We'll talk more on the economy as we continue this conversation. What's your position on ECOMIG? Ibrahima wants to know.
Well, yeah. Well, ECOMIG, I think ECOMIG came in initially to protect the family. Initially, to protect the family. That is why you don't find them in any other place.
When you say family, what
do
do you mean?
the president. The president, the first family. That's why you don't find them anywhere other than at the State House. So, and the reason for it is that at that time in 1994, it was believed that there were a lot of rogue elements in the Gambian National Army, and particularly and more so in the Presidential Guard. So really, you want to protect the president. You don't want to, and his family, you don't want to put them in a situation where those who owe loyalty, still owe loyalty to the former president, are in control of the institution. So you have to be careful. You cannot compromise that. But 8 years down the line, should that fear still continue to exist? I believe that ECOMIG, it's time for ECOMIG really. It's time for them to leave. Otherwise, the Gambia government will not go seriously. Will not handle seriously. The security sector reform. Because if they handle this security sector reform, by now, there should be no need for the ECOMIG to be here. By now, we will certainly have at least a presidential guard that is very Republican, that do not think that Adama Barrow is that or this particular is that. They would just do their work, as expected of them.
In the 26 months you were in government, was the future of ECOMIG ever discussed in cabinet?
No, because that was really the time when this security sector reform was being embarked upon. So it was certainly not. I don't think it would have been appropriate really to discuss whether this would be here or not. But then the concentration on the security sector reform should really have been pursued, with all seriousness.
Mm-hmm. And taking advantage of Ibrahima's question, which touched on the economy by talking about the Dalasi against the CFA, what do you think of the 2025 budget? You hear all sorts of opinion on the 2025 budget. What is Alhaji Ousainou Darboe's position on the 2025 budget as leader of the biggest opposition party in the country? Some of your people would say the biggest party, generally speaking, in this country.
Well, again, I think there has been, in the allocations, I think there has been some misplaced priorities.
For instance?
Agriculture. I would rather have billions in agriculture than in the presidency, or even in my former ministry. Because I say in this, the draft I saw, I said that, embassies were being opened in places, I think in Germany, in Japan, and so forth, when we should really be thinking of reducing the embassies. And of course, Peter, I also think that there is something I'd never thought of, but I've seen it happen with the Swedish government. You know, instead of having a resident ambassador in a country, you would have an ambassador designated for Gambia, but then in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and he or she would come on a visit maybe twice in the year, or at the most, you know, every 3 months. You can have embassy in Germany, or say you have diplomatic, but let the ambassador be resident in the Gambia here. Then be part of the foreign service cadre, and he could go to Germany. Yeah, maybe if the president is going on a state visit to Germany, he could go there. Or there are issues that have to be discussed with the German government that is peculiar to the Gambia and Germany, and he has to be there. Then he could go there. But issues that it's really affect the whole of Europe. Our ambassador in Brussels should really be able to handle that. Even we should be able to handle that. So I don't think really.
So no need having an ambassador in Switzerland, an ambassador in France, a high commissioner in the UK.
In the UK and then Brussels. Because France, Geneva and Brussels. I think that
you're suggesting that Brussels can handle the whole of Europe.
The whole of Europe. I don't know whether the arrangement still persists. But when I was there for Switzerland, the Swiss government undertook to foot some of our expenses in terms of the office accommodation and rents.
Just some, not all of it.
No, not all of it. Not all of it. Yeah.
Okay. So if we were to You'll make great savings on foreign affairs.
I would make savings, and also on the presidency, on the presidency. Yeah? Also on the presidency. I mean, what? Let me say, what is the return that Gambia realizes from the huge amount of money that's given to the president's office? What returns does the Gambia realize from it? But in agriculture, you certainly will realize a lot. So, for me, it becomes lip service that you really give priority to agriculture. You really want to address the economic problems of this country. After our Gambia's roots, the root of its economy is in agriculture. So we really have to do a lot, not only to expand its productive capacity, but also to make sure that you have variety of exportable commodities. And that's what we need to do.
There's more money in this budget, the 2025 budget, for the Meet the People tour. How does that make you feel?
I did address the government people on that. That for the last, the just concluded Meet the People tour have 30 million. And the expected one in 2025, 45 million. I heard people cry for boreholes that they don't have water.
They say there will be minimum 55 boreholes sunk. In total, you're looking at 82. I had the government spokesman give me a breakdown of the number they're going to sink in 2025.
Well, haven't you have them say that we are going to do this, we are going to do that? And then when you draw their attention to their wasted expenditure, they come and tell, but we are going to do this, we are going to do that. Let us see what happens in 2025. Look, for the past 22 years, in fact, for Jammeh's time and this time,
You're talking 30 years then.
30 years. Is it pardonable for any community in the Gambia to say that we don't have water? And in fact, an elderly person said that, look, some of us haven't bathed this morning because we don't have water.
Oh, wow.
I mean, that is not acceptable. Why put $45 million into this wasteful tour?
Oh, the tour is wasteful.
It's wasteful because it's all. Yeah, in fact, the state is funding the NPP campaign machinery.
Oh,
that is what they are doing.
It's more politics
It's
than
more politics.
consultation with farmers.
It's more with consulting farmers. And I have promised the Gambian people that when UDP comes in,
it's not if, it's when.
It's when the UDP comes in. I mean, we will have a tour, not only meet the farmers, but listen to the farmers, listen to the Gambians. And all these ministers that go on will not be there. Look, let us be quiet. Let us be. Quite truthful. Is it necessary for all the ministers to go there? In every region, in fact, the most important sectors in the provinces, in all regions, you have directors. You have regional directors of agriculture. You have regional directors of agriculture in all the regions. You have regional directors of education in all the regions. You have regional directors for health in all the regions. And also the health facilities, the heads of the health facilities. Are those people not in a position, together with the president, to go on this tour and listen to the concerns of the people? And then they are the technicians, the directors are technicians, they listen to this problem. And when every night, you have a retreat, go over those problems and see how to solve them. Why don't you have what you used to have? PWDs in the regions. You have every district. You have a district engineer, civil engineer. So that, the roads, they will take care of roads, road maintenance, and all those things.
So you would redesign the Meet
Absolutely,
the People tour.
absolutely,
You would
absolutely.
rename it what? Meet the...
Listen to the people.
Listen to the people.
Listen to the people.
It's more effective and will cost much less.
It will cost much less. You don't have to take... Why do you have to take these companies with you? Why do you have to take these youth leaders? What value are they adding? And what you hear, all the deliberations, Ousainou Darboe this, Taliban to that. Ousainou Darboe this, Taliban. Is Ousainou Darboe the national agenda? Is Ousainou Darboe the national problem?
Well, it is the biggest opposition party in the country.
Well, anyway.
Let me take another question for you. Why does the UDP always take the government to court but ends up losing its cases? For example, the government advisors case, Darboe and co-convicts, which was tried both locally and internationally at ECOWAS. The person who sent this, unfortunately, didn't sign off like Ibrahim Kuli did.
Well, I don't know about the Darboe and co-convicts, which was taken locally and internationally. I don't know what he meant by that.
Okay.
But you see, Peter, me as a lawyer, I believe that our constitution is a skeleton. You have to put flesh on it. See,
so let me just be clear. When you say our constitution, you're talking about the 1997
the 1997
constitution.
constitution. Okay. The 1997 constitution. You have to put flesh on it. Yeah? Now, the case of the advisors, it was an issue of public officer and person holding the an office in the public service. For anybody, there is no distinction between these. And it certainly continued, to really disturbed me. And I definitely want to have a clarification on it. And the approach of the court on it was that you approach this with a purposive interpretation so that you discover the mischief, and then pro bono publico, you decide. Now, pro bono publico, of course, is for the benefit of the country, for the benefit of the public. Is it in the spirit of the Constitution that a president appoints a party worker, gives him a name, and then the state pays him, and he spends all his time doing party work? The advisor on political affairs, he does not do anything. All his own party work. Is that the spirit of the Constitution? And certainly, is that the spirit that the Section 80 really wants? That you can appoint anybody and then let him do political work, party work, and the state to be responsible for it. He uses the state resources, vehicles, and petrol to go and do purely party work. I mean, certainly that is not in the interest of the public. That is not pro bono publico. And of course, what was there any mischief that Section 80 wanted to rectify? There was no mischief. The whole issue is you want to keep public officers. You want to keep them out of politics. You want to ensure their political neutrality. The advisor's case, I read there that the president, under the executive powers, to help, get people appointed to promote the policies. Tell me, what policies would the better advisor on youth affairs, Ousainou, what can he contribute to the policies of this country? Maybe one person, because of his qualifications. Kamara. He said
Suleiman,
he said his qualifications, So maybe he can contribute to policies of government on cybersecurity. But other than that, all these people, it's all political patronage. And the saddest thing about it is opening up an avenue for any rogue government to really stuff, the services with quote unquote persons holding public office and yet doing purely political work. I can assure you that a UDP government will not do that. UDP government can have advisors, but will be top-notch people. Some of the people are here on your program. I think those are people whose talents, whose knowledge should be harnessed for the good of this country.
People like Larry Cisse, people like Lamin Mane.
People like Lamin Mane, and people like my landed friend, Bax. Yeah. Their knowledge.
Abdoulaye Touré.
Yes, their knowledge, their expertise. And there are tons of them who can really serve in an advisory role appointed under Section 80 for the good of the country. But not people really doing purely party work. And of course, with the ambassadors, I find that even more astonishing. Anybody to say that 1996 to 2016 that APRC was ruling this country, you need to lead evidence. The Chief Justice is the leading authority, at least on evidence. He has written a book on it, and practice not rely on that. Facts that are notorious. Even my grandson knows these facts. Do you have to lead evidence about that? You have the people themselves acknowledging that, yes, following my appointments, I resigned from my party admitting that, yes, I entered into an alliance with ANP, with other parties and individuals. So we know individuals who really supported Barrow in his 2021 re-election. We know individuals. But then these are parties, and what will you resign from? You can only resign from a party. So you cannot deny the existence of the party. I don't think really the judges read, especially the ambassadors. I don't think they really read the documents. In fact, during the address, I picked up the Standard newspaper, where Amul Nyasi announced that Fatimata Jahumpa Sisi had resigned as secretary of the Secretary General of the party. And I was in the course of that submission, my submission on that, I wanted to make a statement, and of course one of the judges said, "But are you trying to deny what is published in this paper?" I said, "No, my lords. I just wanted to give an additional reason why he's not qualified." But you see, in the face of it all, I think this will be for the academics. Again, maybe that's not novelty, but for challenges to the constitutionality of actions, to give an order of a non-suit, I have not come across it. It's you are either successful, you either succeed or you fail. But then to say that you are non-suited so that you have an opportunity to come back, in constitutional litigations, this is the first time I'm seeing it. Although I do not claim to know the practice or throughout the world, the global practice throughout the world, but this is the first time I'm seeing it, and for me, it's rather strange. And certainly, I believe that look, to dismiss this action would just be too much, especially on those grounds that no evidence that that the Bojan's party is a political party, is registered a political party. To say that a leader is not an office, it's a role. Nobody resigns from a role. You stop performing roles, but you don't resign from roles. You resign from offices. And indeed, the Chief Justice agrees with the reasoning of Justice Njai in the ambassador's case, but then when it came to the office, to the advisor's case, Chief Justice accepted that Henry Gomez is a leader and he's holding an office. But you disagree. In the ambassador's case, that leader is just a role. That's what you agree with. But in your own lead judgment, you did say something different. And Justice Jai says that no, roles are for performing roles. As far as the Tijan, Mr. Boja, they were just leaders. They are performing roles. They are roles. But you agree that in the case of Henry Gomez, his position of leader is an office. For me, it's contradiction. I don't know how my lords, when they look at their judgments again, how they will reconcile. Their positions in the two cases.
Very quickly, you touched on the issue of constitution. What do you think of the proposed constitution?
Well, for me, there are two proposed constitutions. I don't know which one you mean.
No, well, legally, there's only one. The 2021 was defeated. That's not on the cards anymore. There's only the one submitted by the Barrow cabinet, or the one that is referred to as 2024 draft.
Oh no, well, okay. That one we refer to it as the Barrow draft. I think that's constitution. It's really a joke. I think it's an insult to the Gambian people. For President Barrow and his cabinet to want to give the Gambian people that type of just the thought of it is an insult. I'll just give you one instance. our fight is against corruption. All the things that we are saying is that corruption must stop in the country. Now, you have a clause in that constitution that says that on your assumption of office, you must declare all your assets. Very good. But then, on your exit from office, you don't have to declare assets. And it is during the period that you are in office that you have the opportunity to do what people say shouldn't do. You have been protected from that. I mean, I think that's an insult to the Gambian people, just to think of that. And I don't accept this argument that okay, let it go, and then you can work it at the committee stages and so forth.
There should be no compromise.
Bring the 2020 and work it at the committee stages. Bring that one and work it at the committee stages. Do all your negotiations on that at the committee stages. That is the constitution that the Gambian people say that what they want. So you don't go there, sit in cabinet, and be thinking ways of self-perpetuation, and you expect the Gambian people to accept that. Peter, I have said it, and I'm saying it, and without apology, that we are going to vote against the 2024 Barrow draft. No, I have said it in public. I have said it to the to goodwill ambassadors. I have said it to them. Peter, from 1996, UDP has been looking for good constitution, for electoral reforms. We have gone to jail from it. Some of our members have died from it. Some of people have been forced to go into exile for it. But it's not any constitution that we want. It is a constitution that is befitting the Gambian people. And in 2020 draft is one that is acceptable to all Gambians. So if Barrow and his people think that they want to have something, bring the 2020 constitution, whatever they want, see how they can put in that. And that would have been the most acceptable thing. But because they don't want to have a constitution, and because they also, and not because Barrow is making on his promise that whatever he has, that UDP says that this is what the government should do, they will not do it. Yes. So because they have found me saying that if they bring another constitution other than the 20, they will not, you will reject it. They say, okay, let us bring it so that they can reject it. And they think that by doing so, they can make us blamable, culpable. No. We are on firmer terra.
Solid ground.
Solid ground to defend our position. And we say this without apology to anybody. I appreciate the efforts that all the stakeholders are doing. I appreciate the efforts of the National Human Rights Commission. I think what their conclusion should be, Barrow, bring the 2020 draft and let the works be done on that. Not that take the 2024 draft and let people work on that.
I'm going to end with a question from Bamba Ba. Has the UDP increased its support base since 1996? And can you give proof?
Well, we have certainly increased our support base, and this has been reflected. And Bamba, maybe if you go to Kamaraba, you will see.
Where's Kamaraba?
Kamaraba official.
Okay.
Kamaraba is online.
Okay.
If you go there, the defections that took place in this store is a testimony of our increase in membership. From Balangat Kirindir to Kiantanklar to the Fonies. Look at them. You will see that our membership has increased. In Bonto, the number of people that have come out to pledge their support with the National Democratic Party, defecting from NPP, more than 30 people. And each of those people have a little following. So you can even multiply 30 by 3, and that will give you 90. And it's been like that, all throughout the country. Yeah? So if you want proof, please visit Kamaba official and see the number of defections. In fact, there was a place in Upper River region, in Yankui, that the hometown of the City National Assembly member, about 19 people from defected to UDP. And it's in the and there are a lot of silent people who are silent, who have pledged their support to UDP, but they cannot come out. They are silent. So, Bamba, I think UDP, as they say, we are there. But there was an issue, and I said I was going to address it. That when he said that whether I do contact the president, when he's abroad. I said in 2018, yes, 2018, just before the schools were opened, there was this issue with Teachers for a Change. I say they are, can see the narratives that they're giving.
Yes.
Now, there are conditions, and Honorable His Excellency, the Vice President, is listening. He was permanent secretary then. So
Mohammed B.S.
Jallow. So Peter, you see, whatever I say, I don't want to make Lamin Mane feel bad, but St. Augustinians, whatever they say.
Lamin, are you listening? Are you watching?
Now, they had conditions laid, and some of these conditions were fulfilled. And the other condition was to be fulfilled in October. And these teachers said they were not going to work unless the condition in October was fulfilled. I think I can't remember. I think Madam Correa was one of the senior officers, in the union, who was with them.
Yes, she was.
Yes, and
this is Emily.
Yeah, that's right.
Correa
that's
Gomez.
Right. Yeah, that's right. And we try to put sense into them that look, you cannot do this. You have to go back to school. The conditions that will be fulfilled in October, come October, they are not fulfilled. You are entitled to take any course of action, but not now. It's premature. They insisted, and some of them, young people, I don't blame them. I mean, their adrenaline was high,
yes.
So they can say anything, they can behave anything, And I consulted with the president. I said, this is the situation. But I am assured that if these people, their number is not much, if they decide not to go to work, we can fall back on the retired teachers who are available so that our kids do not suffer. They'll go to school and they will find teachers available. Honorable His Excellency Mohammed B.S. Jallow is listening. And in fact, the question I posed to him, and he said, yes, we could have. And I consulted the president. I said, please go ahead. And then I told the teachers that, look, you have to go to work. And we do not want to put in motion the procedures that the Public Service Commission of Regulations allows us to do, to ask you to give reasons why you have been absent from work to the tutor. We do not want that. Please, go back to work. And I said that some of you are on scholarship. You do not want to lose your scholars because if you do not go to work, if you are no longer in the teaching service, you lose your scholarship, and you don't want to know that. And there was a particular gentleman who was talking about this, how the hardship allowance. And I said, look, you shouldn't be talking about hardship allowance because where you come from, the provinces. You shouldn't be talking about that. I said, look, teachers left Banjul here to go and teach us in the provinces. They didn't ask for hardship allowance. Why must you be asking for hardship allowance to go to your own community to take them. I told him that, ita bukamadu. That was shameless. Because you want to be patriotic, you want to give back to your community. I mean, you take me to Ousainou Darboe, I say, look, I want you to do something for me so that I can go and serve my own community. I thought that was unpatriotic. So I consulted the president and said, look, if, whatever is to be done, since this, go ahead. Yeah.
And that was how you solved the problem.
That's the vice president is listening to me.
Yeah.
And we thought that, we should solve that. And government has to be decisive.
Yeah.
You really don't conduct affairs of the government because you want to satisfy Peter Gomez. Yeah. No, you want to conduct affairs of government in a way that is for the benefit of the entire country.
For the common good.
For the common good, yeah.
Honorable Alhaji Ousainou Darboe, we wanted 1 hour with you. My cameramen signaling that we've done over an hour and a half.
Thank you.
And we have to bring this conversation to a conclusion. There's a lot more that we could talk about. Unfortunately, it can't all fit in one sit-down session. How would you like to conclude this conversation, especially given that we are going into the holiday season?
In fact, Peter, I wish every Gambian a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year in advance. We hope that as we approach these Christmas festivities, we'll be guided by the teachings of the Messiah, that we treat each other as neighbors, that we should be kind to each other, we should be charitable to each other, and that above all, we should put humanity above each and every one of us. And he came in Christmas time to redeem us. And of course, in a few months, maybe at Easter time, I mean, he would also demonstrate to the entire world that one person sacrifice for the entire globe is worth it. That's why he was crucified. So I want us all Gambians to have that spirit, that we are one nation, brothers, and that notwithstanding our political differences, we should be able really to see ourselves as Gambians, and that the Spirit of Christ, His teachings, should really guide us, and we all should be in the merry-making mood because of the advent of the Savior.